Welcome to Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Brought to you by our title sponsor, Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. Come along with us as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. We have partnered with Mountain Tough Fitness Lab to help get you in shape and mentally stronger. Whether you're a veteran hunter or just starting out, the Mountain Tough app will take you to the next level. We personally train using the Mountain Tough programs, and we believe in it so much that we want to give you 6 weeks for free using code SHEEPBC. That's SHEEPBC. Check out Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. You won't be disappointed. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Stone Glacier. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Stone Glacier, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. Well, good afternoon, Chuck. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day today. I know you're sitting up at the lake and enjoying a little bit of sunshine, and here you are inside and working and driving the conservation wheel in British Columbia again. Thank you.
Oh, right on, man. Thanks, Kyle. Pleasure to be here as usual.
Awesome. So I know you're no stranger to the Wild Sheep Society BC, to Talk is Sheep, and anyone that is paying attention these days knows what's going on with Spike Camp. But for those that are a little bit out of the loop, why don't you just give us a bit of an overview of who Chuck Peeling is on any given day and a little bit about Spike Camp?
All right. I don't know where to start there. So about Chuck Peeling, well, that's not the most exciting story. I'm just a regular guy with a real job. I travel a lot for business. And my son and I, Blake, we started this online community platform April of last year, so just over a year. And the idea behind it is to provide a place for hunter conservationists to share knowledge, stories, experiences, and give a place where we can, keep a focus on our conservation group partners, such as you guys and a bunch of other ones. So that's really the end. That's really it.
So it's, there's not a lot of people that do that sort of thing. And I think one that comes to mind, I think that does something a little bit similar is 2% for conservation, which I've always really admired. It's tough in the conservation world to sort of make your way, right? Like it's you're kind of relying on people's goodwill, their benevolence, their care for the outdoors. And then you got to connect with them. And it's not easy. And then now you're helping us do our job. So that's going to even be harder. And you really have no revenue stream. I look at 2% for conservation. Nobody's getting rich anywhere. So it's truly a labor of love. How did you, what inspired Spike Camp and sort of, because you guys are all about giving back. Absolutely. That's very clear. You've been in business now for certainly over a year. What drives that for you, Chuck, and Blake? I guess you can comment on his behalf too.
Yeah, I think, there's several factors at play there, Kyle. I mean, when as you know, we've been involved as members of the Wild Sheep Society for quite a few years now. And we've done a few things over the years as far as action items go, just trying to, provide some momentum where needed. And I guess it really spurred from lots of days on the mountain sitting beside Blake glassing. We're sitting up glassing for sheep and talking about what kind of a project could we do that would benefit our community and benefit the conservation groups that support wildlife and for sure in Western Canada. And now it's expanded a little bit more, obviously. But the inspiration for us was partially just trying to put people together. If you go back a few years ago when we lost the grizzly bear hunt here in BC, that was one factor where we realized our community is very fragmented. You had all the stakeholders more or less in panic mode when the announcements came that this was going to happen, and so everybody was going to go in different directions. So I guess part of our inspiration was we need a place where we can all land and all try to communicate together. And on the second side of things, the second big factor came when we had all the short sheep and all the seized sheep a few years ago. It was a record number, and there was a variety of reasons why those sheep were confiscated, but a lot of them were underage sheep and they were short. And if you recall, we got back from a sheep hunt. Blake and I got back, and within a couple days, he created a website, agingsheep.com. And that was, he did that just out of pure frustration with the lack of awareness that some people had out there. I mean, they made bad decisions. So that was a factor. And then the third thing was, there was a real lack of, I'm going to be careful how I phrase it, but there wasn't a very good place for hunters / conservationists to communicate with each other. And then when we sat back and identified those things and looked at it and said, okay, well, if we're going to do something, what do we each bring to the table? And Blake's background is basically digital marketing, web design, social media, that kind of stuff. And my background is I'm just a diehard hunter. I know lots of people, I have lots of friends in the space, and we thought if we combined our resources together, we could start this project, build a community that really focuses on equality, sharing, and conservation. So that's kind of the main things that drove us to start Spike Camp.
Yeah, lots to unpack there, Chuck. Let's talk a little bit about.
Sure.
I got to hit. I guess I get hit unmute, don't I? Let's talk a little bit about the space, Chuck, and a little bit about what makes Spike Camp different from somewhere else. Like if you're, there's other online platforms, all social media, all that crap, Facebook. But if for somebody that hasn't been on the platform before, what would you say is some of the distinguishing features that you're going to see there that you wouldn't see somewhere else?
Yeah, right on. There's a few things that set us apart from others, in no particular order. So basically, Spike Camp has features that a typical discussion forum or forum board would have. So you've got, we call them spaces, what are basically, topics, discussion topics. So there's a whole menu bar, which is very flexible. We can add spaces for different topics, as the platform grows. So, for example, there's a space for sheep hunting, one for elk. There's one for conservation, where you guys post stuff. You can set up a feed, much like you can with Facebook. The one thing that really sets us apart is the fact that we can hold live stream events. So we can do basically live stream recordings, and our members can sign on to those recordings and watch us live. They can interact with us, and they can participate and ask questions and stuff. And I think the big thing that sets us apart is, in order to be a member, it's free. We don't charge our membership. It's free to join, but the only ask is that we ask that you are a member of a conservation group that we support, or that we recognize as a valuable contributor to wildlife conservation. So that's really it.
Very cool. So I know that you guys got this really cool program. You guys do lots of really cool initiatives and giveaways, and you've got sort of opportunities where people can get recognized for sort of their involvement and trying to get engagement going. And you do a fantastic job. I know the platform's really active. You guys got amazing guests. I know you got, well, I'm not going to steal your thunder. What's coming up? It's Sheep Week coming up this week, or Sheep Camp coming up? Let's talk about what guests you got coming on there.
Yeah, Sheep Camp. So last year, and I just want to back it up a little bit. When we launched this platform a year ago, Blake was quick to point out to me that we had this live stream option, and I kind of brushed it off. I was like, oh, I don't know. It sounds kind of I don't know if that's going to take off or not. And so he pushed me to start doing that. So I think we did an interview with one of our members just to test it out, and it was actually really cool and fun. So then it was kind of rolling into midsummer. We decided to do a series on sheep hunting and just try basically a topic-based series. So we did a sheep camp last year, and you guys were part of that. We had a night where Wild Sheep came on, kind of had a cocktail night and told some stories. It was a lot of fun. And then we had a couple of real hardcore sheep hunters come on. So this year, the feedback that we got from our membership was, we want more content. We want more live streams. We want more topic-based series. So Sheep Camp 2024, we're kind of, it's almost like we thought about calling it Slam Camp, because we've actually got guests that specialize in 4 species of sheep, North American based sheep. So tomorrow night, July 10th, I'm not sure we're going to air this, but it might be too late, but Wednesday, July 10th, we've got an Alberta boy, Mike Drury. Mike is a diehard bighorn sheep hunter in Alberta. And he's also the owner and founder of Alpine Riflecraft. He's building these super sweet ultralight rifles for sheep hunting. And then the second night, Thursday the 11th, we've got a very special guest, Shane Pallister. If you're not familiar with Shane Pallister and you watch YouTube, hunting videos on YouTube, you'll recognize his name. It's he produced a film a few years back with his father. I think the title is Epic 39-Day Stone Sheep Hunt on the Trail of Chadwick. And if you haven't seen it, you're living in the dark ages, because the folks that I've talked to and have discussed this film on will tell you that if it's not the best stone sheep hunting film out there, it's probably one of them for sure. It's in the top 3. And then our third guest next week, we're going to run again. I think it's the 17th and the 18th of July. We're running the last 2 episodes. We've got our buddy Wasey Arthur is going to be doing an interview with Tyler Friel. Oh, sorry, just to back up. The episode with Shane, we're going to focus on desert sheep. Shane runs a desert sheep hunting operation in Mexico, and he's a BC boy. And he's been on a lot of sheep hunts, the one with his dad in that film, but also just basically born and raised sheep hunter, second generation. And then, like I said, third episode is Wasey is going to interview his buddy, Tyler Friel. Tyler's an Alaskan boy. He's got a podcast called Tundra Talk. He's a outdoor gun writer for Outdoor Life. And I think he's killed over a dozen Dall sheep. And then the grand finale is our old buddy, Kevin Willis, who's a BC boy. Kevin was one of our guests last year, and he's a real close friend of Blake's and mine, and also many members on the platform. Yeah, and we're going to be talking about the pursuit of trophy stone sheep, big rams. So that'll be the series. So they're going to be up to a max of 2 hours long. There'll be Q&A. There's going to be a really cool giveaway going on. In order to qualify for the giveaway, you got to register on the platform for the prize package. And the package is Rydell from Aziak Equipment has donated an ultralight tripod, head, and a bino clamp. So really cool prize. Really nice stuff too. So that's it.
Yeah, Aziak's a great product, great name, and really, really good product that a lot of serious sheep hunters use them. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Now, I know you guys do a number of promotions, and you got a really cool one that's driving membership right now. So actually, you know what? I want to hear about your sheep plans, and let's save that kind of for the wrap up. We'll make people listen to the end for this cool giveaway that you're doing. Okay. Like, you guys have such a cool prize package there. So talked about sheep camp. So I know that no season is complete without Chuck and Blake wandering out into the wilderness in pursuit of record stone sheep. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing this fall, and don't limit the sheep. We'll talk about whatever you got planned for your fall hunting plans, you and Blake.
Well, let's just say so far, it's been just that. It's been a wander out into sheep country, because
expensive camping trip, right?
yeah. It's been a lot of gun hiking, but we're pretty confident. We're getting closer and closer every year. We've had opportunities on rams over the years. I've passed on a few legal rams that were definitely there by curl, but maybe weren't quite mature enough. And given that I'm 56 going on 57, I am holding out for the ram, the one that I see in my crosshairs that, that's the one. So we're going out for opener again this year. We're going back into the same area we went last year. And we know the country really well now, and we got our fingers crossed. So that's the plan for that. If it works out, it would be great. We're not afraid of a double. I'd like to get my kid on a ram as well, so we'll see how that goes. as far as hunt plans go, it's kind of a long list. This is going to be a busy year for me personally and Blake. So once sheep season's over, there's a bit of a hiatus till September. And then we're going to do, I've got kind of 2 weeks penciled in for elk up north. And then just depending on how that goes, the timing would hopefully work out so that I can slip up north for a short goat hunt with one of our buddies on the platform, an over-the-counter hunt. And then, again, just basically wait for deer season after that. Going to do I'm always looking for a good mule deer buck. That's one of my passions is, big muleys. I've got a couple nice ones over the years, and I won't shoot anything small. I'm just holding out for another good one. And then just as a complete surprise, I drew a Saskatchewan whitetail tag for the Canadian resident draw. And if you don't know much about that one, it's a difficult tag to get unless you have direct blood relative or relatives out there. So they have a small pool for Canadian residents, and I think it's like 95% of the pool goes to the blood relatives, and then there's this tiny fraction, 5% of that pool goes to Canadian residents. Now, we have a lot of family out there, but we don't have direct blood relatives. So out of the blue, I pulled a tag for whitetail, and I was talking to my wife's cousins or my hunting buddies out there, and they're all about my age, and now their kids are out there hunting, they kept the camp up every year. They do a big camp in southern Saskatchewan. So we're kind of laughing. We're getting the band back together again. It's been 11 years of me trying to get a tag. So doing that. And then the grand finale for me this year is I'm doing a southern ibex hunt in Spain the first week of December. So that's it.
Wow. Nice. What kind of ibex is it?
I think it's called the southeastern or the southern.
Okay.
So they have 4 species of ibex, and apparently one or two of those species have been hit really hard with scabies. So they have their animal disease issues over there as well. So apparently the southern ones are still pretty good, and the population is strong. So yeah, should be fun.
Very cool. That's awesome, man. And who you hunting with on that hunt? Who's the?
I think it's called Ibex Hunt Spain, something like that.
Okay.
I'll post something up on. I found them through one of our members, Alex Sharif. You know Alex? He's a writer. Alex, yeah. So he hooked me up. It's his buddy. I'd have to pull up the email from it, but yeah. I
kind of was thinking there'd be an Alex connection there because he just had him on the platform, and I seen him actually 2 weeks ago in Calgary, and we were talking about you there, and I was like, oh, I'm sure this is an Alex hookup, but I wasn't sure. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
What part of Saskatchewan are you hunting whitetail at? Can you divulge what community that is, or?
Yeah, so we're going to be down south in the southwestern corner, basically Swift Current area, not far from Swift Current. Yeah, so it's just that we have a lot of family, like I said, a lot of cousins and stuff out there that have a lot of friends, and there's a couple of big ranchers out there that let us hunt on their land, and for that hunt, it's just a blast. It's just hanging out with the guys. We have a wall tent camp set up, and we have a whole bunch of the crew come out, and they're not even hunters. They just come out to spend the week. They're such a social event. So really jacked to do that trip again. I miss it. I used to go every year when I moved to BC in the late 80s, early 90s, through the 2000s. I just bought a tag every year and went back, and that was my hunting trip for the most part, was going back with the crew. So yeah, really excited about that one.
That's awesome. Do you put it in Alberta as well?
I don't put in it. Yeah, I just started looking at that this year. I've got some family out there. I've got 2 nephews in Red Deer, and 2 years ago I did the hunter host program. Went out to visit. One of them had a cow moose tag for the Red Deer area, which is all private land. Like, it's ridiculous. Everywhere is private land. So he asked me to come out and help. He'd not killed a moose before, so I went out. Spent a week with him, helped him get a moose, basically taught him how to be a salesman on a farmer's doorstep was really what that trip was all about. right? Get the permission, right? We pull into the driveway and I'd say, "Okay, Josh, fix your hair, get your smile on, go knock on the door. I'll sit in the truck. Like you have to look like a starving, kid from Red Deer that needs that moose meat." And it worked. He got his moose. But yeah, so I got a nice little whitetail buck there a couple of years ago. And I was planning on going back this year because he's got some pretty good property now. But this tag from Saskatchewan just landed in my lap. So I'm like, well, I got to do this for sure.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome. And where are you going elk hunting? Is that, you said, is that just a general over the season tag, over the counter tag, or okay?
Yeah.
Right
Well,
on.
I mean, it's a big area, Peace Country. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, that sounds like a pretty busy fall. You're going to be. So, are you guys going for the opener for Stone Sheep, or what's the plan there? I missed the time frame there.
Sorry. Yeah. Opener. Yeah. You bet. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you're going to have lots of content on the platform to share after this trip, I would expect. So
there'll be a story for sure. Hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's a nice photo in there somewhere. We'll see. I'm doing
nice. So I think we're going to use the photo you sent me for the cover art for this podcast, and you killed a beautiful kudu. I think it was a bull kudu that, and I think you just went over to Africa and were hunting with Bosveld Jacobs and Bosveld Jacobs. So tell us about that trip. I'm curious to hear about. We see each other. We're always visiting, but we've never. I think you went to Africa right after Penticton, didn't you?
Yeah. It was just a couple weeks after. Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
yes.
So I want to hear all about your trip. I want to tell me all about what happened there.
Yeah, so if you go back, I think it was what year was the event canceled? Like the day before, or a couple days before?
It was 2020.
Okay, so in 2020, I was on a sort of a mini couple vacation with my wife. Supposed to be like date weekend. We were down in Arizona. And I think it was the Friday or Saturday night when the auction was running, and we were sitting having dinner at a restaurant in Phoenix, and I was watching on my phone all the stuff. I was bidding on a few things, backpack here and a tent there. And all of a sudden this bid came up. I was keeping an eye on the Africa thing. And I'll preface it by saying my wife and I had planned on planning a trip to South Africa. And my wife does all my travel for work, and as you know, I'm always on the road, all internationally, and so planning stuff is sort of her jam. She loves to do that, and so we had talked about planning this big trip for an anniversary. Anyway, long story short, this item comes up for bid, and I start bidding on it, and I'm going back and forth. My wife does not know I'm doing it, and pretty heated going into the last couple minutes of the bid. And in the last 30 seconds, I had outbid the other guy that I was bidding against. And lo and behold, ding, you're the winner. And so I told my wife, she saw my eyes light up. She goes, "What happened?" I said, "I just won an African hunt." Well, let me tell you, Kyle, that weekend was not as fun as I thought it was going to be, because she was some pissed off. Like, my kids laughed afterwards. They're like, "Dad, you're a knucklehead, man. You could have just let Mom plan it." Anyway, yeah, we couldn't go. We had to wait a couple years to pull it off, and I worked out a deal with Rian to instead of the actual hunt was 2 hunters, 3 animals each, and I worked out a deal with Rian where I could just I would be the sole hunter and my wife would accompany me on the trip, and I didn't know what to expect. And as you know. We have done a couple of, we did an international hunting series a few months back, and I had Nolan on there, and I also talked to Greg, and both of those guys have been to Bosveld's operation and had just amazing hunts. And Nolan for sure had given me just tons of tips, and we interviewed him on an episode on Spike Camp, and I kind of knew what to expect. But I really wasn't sure what it would be like. And I had this vision in my head that this would be more or less a canned hunt, because everything over there is fenced. Well, I got to tell you, we get there and the first evening we went for a little bit of a tour on the property that the lodge is on, and that's definitely in a fenced area. But that was more of like their little preview area on what you're about to see. The next morning we hit a farm or a ranch. I guess it was a cattle ranch slash game ranch. And everything over there, we were in the Valwater, Waterberg area, and pretty much that whole entire area, all the land is basically game ranches that are fenced, and huge ranges from small ranches to huge ranches. And that's the primary industry for that whole area, for that whole region, is hunting. And so the Bosveld guys have, I think it's over 220,000 acres of land that they have access to. So we started hunting on 2 or 3 different ranches that were sort of the big ones, and we're talking 35,000 acres. And it was just amazing. It was an incredible experience, unlike anything I've ever seen. Yeah, you are inside a fenced area, but it's massive, and they haven't added animals to their inventory in most of these ranches for over a decade, just because they're flourishing, and the game management procedures that they have on all these ranches are just amazing. And to put it in perspective, Kyle, the one ranch we hunted on, which was 35,000 acres, I killed 8 animals total on that trip, and I shot 3 of them there. We had just started the rut. The kudu rut just started like literally a couple days before we got there. But this ranch has its own river system. It's got its own mountain range. It's got plains, like straight grassy plains. It's got rocky mountains that you'd think desert sheep would be living in. I mean, absolutely massive, and not a lot of roads throughout it. So what they do is they have basically 2-track trail that kind of goes around, and there'll be some sub roads to that. But for the most part, you're just cruising around glassing, and then opportunity knocks. You have a list of animals that you're hoping to see. You never know when you're going to see them, and that list varies. I had intended on shooting 5 or 6 animals. I ended up shooting 8. So the kudu, yeah, it got a little out of control. But yeah, the kudu was very special. I don't know. I heard a rumor that you might be going over there. Is that true?
Yeah, we're working on it right now, but we'll talk about that later. I want to hear more about your stuff. That kudu is insane. That one that you shot, it is a beautiful bull. I've seen the price list, right? You pay for the bigger it is, the more you pay. You must have shot the biggest one. That had to be like at 58 or something is the highest level above that, or
yeah. Ironically, that kudu is 50 inches long. So he's in he's in the 50-inch range. What made that bull unique is, if you see the photo, the bases, are super heavy. Like, you can't wrap your hands around them. They're just massive. And he tips out really wide, spirals around. And the pH that we had was I love this kid. His name was Dreon. He's been, I think he's 29 years old, and he's been guiding for Rion for 10 years. So he's basically raised there. This kid is the most patient hunter that I've ever been with. He would basically say no. He'd see a bull, and we saw a lot of different bulls throughout the week. And I think this was the 6 of 8. I think when I shot the kudu. And back the story up a little bit. 2 days before that, we got on a really nice bull, and during the rut, the kudu bulls they'll stay pretty much in the bush during the day. Like, you don't see them very often, maybe a little bit at first light, and then pretty much nothing throughout the day. But at 4 o'clock, the pH called it kudu o'clock. So at 4 p.m., kudu o'clock starts. So you have your little siesta in the afternoon, and you get up and go for a cruise. Well, 2 nights before that, we spotted a really nice kudu bull coming off a mountain out into a grassy pasture field, basically. And we spotted him at about 600 yards. And the outfitter, or the PH, was telling me, you want to see the tips, you want to see ivory tips, and you want to have them either pointing up or pointing out. And this bull that we saw initially had all of that. He was really long. He was probably closer to that 60 mark. but he was compact. And they're like elk to me. They're like elk and sheep. Everyone's unique. You got some that are wide, some that are, tall, some are short and stocky. Anyway, we were shooting, you shoot off shooting sticks up there. And that's primarily the way you do it. Well, we had to kind of scramble through some bush to get into a spot to make a shot. And I think it was in the 350 range. And I was shooting uphill on an angle, and that bull was just starting to walk, and this was right at last light. And you know that feeling when you're going to squeeze the trigger on an animal, and there's something in the back of your mind is like not quite right, like just a sliver of doubt. Well, I had that sliver of doubt, and right when I was about to say I don't have a shot, I made the classic mistake of taking a shot that I probably shouldn't have, and I sailed one right over his back. So I missed that bull. Boom, he's gone like lightning, out of here, takes off. So up until that point, I was shooting really well. Toot my own horn. Everything was dropping in one shot. The PH was loving everything I was doing. But then all of a sudden there's that, kick in the confidence, right? I'm not a good shot anymore, and it's going through my head. I'm using a rented rifle, and I'm thinking, oh, the guns I got at home, why am I doing this with a $500 gun, blah, blah, blah. So the next day, I think I shot 2 animals, 1 shot each, bam, bam, got an impala, and I think it was waterbuck and impala on that day, so I was back. My redemption was there. But this bull, it was almost an identical scenario. We were only about 500, 800 yards from where I'd missed this bull. And a little word of advice, if you've got a really good PH, just absolutely listen to everything that they say. Because these guys, they hunt for 250 days a year. That's their season. Well, we're driving down this little goat trail coming into the pasture, about half an hour left of daylight. And my PH is sitting in the seat behind me on the driver's side of the vehicle. And he's got the tracker driving. Joshua's the name of this tracker. Amazing. So he's the driver, Skinner, tracker. And all of a sudden, the program is whenever the PH sees something, he snaps his fingers like that, just really loud. And the driver stops the truck. And he pulls up his binos, and he literally looks down at me and he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "Grab your gun, let's go." So we bail out of the truck, make a little bit of a plan. We've got to do another stalk through the bush. This bull is right on the heels of a kudu cow and just came off the mountain, hopped the fence, and was in the pasture. So we go booking her through the timber, trying to be super quiet. The leaves are all cracking. And the kudu cows are very much, if you're an elk hunter, you know what I mean. It's not so much the bull you worry about if you're stalking in on a herd of elk. It's the cows, right? You're always aware. Those cows are on alert with those big ears and eyes. Well, we get to a spot where we can see through the bush, and we can see the cow, and she's locked on us already. And I think I got to check my notes, but it was like 350 or 360 yards, and I'm shooting a 308 rented rifle. $500 Howa with a $100 scope on top of it with over 1,000 rounds through it. It was accurate, but not exactly my choice for a long range kudu, rifle, right? So anyway, Drian says to me, he says, "All right, Mr. Chuck, we got to get this stick set up quick. That bull's he's going to take off." And sure enough, we get the stick set up, and I get the rifle on, and he ranged it. And of course, I'm not shooting turrets or anything like that. It's just a matter of, Texas windage, right? So the bull turns, and he's starting to walk. He sees me, and he sees us, and he turns to his right and starts to walk back towards the fence. The cow has already taken off and jumps the fence. Right. So now I've got a good rest on the shooting stick, and I let him have it. I hit him maybe a couple inches back, a little farther than I wanted, but he was quartering away. And I saw him do that classic, knee buckle kind of hump where he drops down a little bit. And then I jacked another round in, and he ran to the fence and stopped at the fence. And you could see he was moving his head up and down. And just as he was about to jump over the fence, I give him another one. And he jumped over the fence and then out of sight. And so we get on the radio and we radio our track. We're back to the truck and told our tracker, now it's pretty much a couple minutes of daylight left. We might have 10, 15 minutes left, and that's it. So he instructs the truck to bring the truck and the two tracking dogs over to see if we can track this bull. So we get over there, and sure enough, the bull had jumped a barbed wire fence. I'm looking around with a flashlight. It's still enough daylight I can see, but I'm looking for that sparkle of red. Sure enough, find a couple drops of blood. We wait for the truck to come over with the dogs, and right as he jumped over the fence, there was about 25 yards of grass, and then it went straight down into a canyon, like straight down into this little canyon, maybe 100 feet down. And it was basically a drainage for the mountain. So it was really rough in the bottom. And as we get up to the edge of that, we look across and we can see the cow standing about 200 yards on the other side. And the first thing we're thinking of is, oh my God, he's gone. If he's in there, we're not tracking him tonight. We're going to have to come back in the morning. And I don't like leaving animals overnight. I've only ever had to do it once, and I just didn't like it. Got to him next morning, and coyotes were all over it. So anyway, we bring the dogs over. He's got I think it's a German bloodhound who's about 7 years old that's extremely good at tracking, and then he's got a 6-month-old Jack Russell Terrier that he's training, which I had no idea Jack Russells were tracking dogs. But anyway, we pop over the edge with flashlights and start working our way down. And within 30 seconds, the tracking dog is standing there wagging her tail looking into this hole. We go down there, and my bull is laying on his stomach, all four legs, in the bottom of a rut that, only a kudu bull could sit in. He piled up right there. So, yeah. Anyway, recovery involved. Luckily, we could get the truck over to the cliff and winch it out whole. They like to do things whole over there, by the way. So, yeah, that's the story on the kudu.
That's awesome. So that photo, that field, and it's the cover photo of the podcast here. Was it then? Because it looks like there's lots of light there.
Yeah, not a lot of light. We took those photos as soon as we got right in there. We dragged him out, and he was using an iPhone 15 Pro in night mode, and when you looked at it, it's like, yeah, it doesn't look dark, but it was dusk for sure when we got the photos. But that was the very first thing he says, we got to get pictures now, and so we dragged this thing out of the rut and got the photo. But yeah,
that's awesome. Well, what a great hunt, hey?
Oh yeah.
So is that the bull that you, I guess, missed on? Sorry to point that out. The earlier bull that you're after, was this one as big as that one, or is this as nice a bull? Or
yeah. So again, what really got the PH's attention was not the length, but the stature of the horns, because he's super wide and just super heavy with there's like 4 inches of ivory tip on there. And if all goes well, I'm hoping I'm getting a pedestal mount done, shoulder mount, pedestal mount. And if all goes well, I probably won't happen, but I'm hoping to bring some of those mounts to Penticton next year.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're done, but yeah.
Now, are you having them sent over, or are you getting them all the taxidermy work done over there in Africa?
Yeah, that's a good question. That was like my biggest question. Most important thing for me was what to do with the animals. The Waterberg area has an absolutely huge taxidermy. There's a bunch of taxidermists over there. So there's a big industry of taxidermy because there's just hunting everywhere. So the taxidermy studio there that we're using is called Bullseye Taxidermy. And they took us for a tour there on the last day of the PH. We were all done. He drove us over there so I could meet the owners. This taxidermy studio, Kyle, has 47 employees. They have their own tannery. They make their own molds. They do everything there. They have their own wood shop to make the pedestal mounts. They make their own crates. They have a logistics arm that ships all the material, all the trophies home for you. and they even do custom leather work and stuff. So they're doing everything there for us. So of the 8 trophies, I'm doing. There's going to be a pedestal mount for the kudu. I shot a roan as well, and that's actually a record book animal. It's going to make the Roland Ward and SCI record. And a roan it's like 1,000-pound antelope. It's the biggest antelope in South Africa. They're huge. And I'm going to get those 2 mounted on pedestal mounts. And I got really lucky. I actually shot a bush buck, which is an absolute beautiful animal. Very hard to find during the day. They're mostly a night animal to night hunt, but we caught one kind of mid-morning just in the bushes. We were driving down a road and ended up shooting it. So I'm actually going to get a full body mount done on that one. So in South Africa, there's what they call the spiral slam. So you've got Nyala, eland, kudu, and bushbuck are the 4 spiral animals. So I've got half, and the plan is I'm already booked again for 2026. Going to go back and try and finish the other half of that. So yeah,
that's awesome. Are you doing that trip? Are you going with Nolan on that trip?
No, so I'm going to be. I think you guys are Nolan and possibly you. I think you guys are going to be about 3 weeks before us. I'm hitting the exact. I want to hit the same sort of exact week, and I wanted the same pH, and so logistically, that was kind of how it's going to work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you asked if we're going, and so for our listeners, one of our members, Nolan, is putting together a bunch of us to do a trip over to Africa. So Bosveld Jacobs Rion is a generous supporter of the society. Who did you buy the hunt from? Like, where was it on? Was it on our platform or was it somewhere else?
No, it was yours. It was your auction.
It was.
Yeah, it was one of the hunts he donated for wild sheep. Yeah.
Right. So Rion's been donating for 6-7 years to the society. And, for those that don't know, and I know you know, Chuck, is that you got to be careful with African outfitters, that there's some with good reputations, some with not good reputations whatsoever. Bosveld Jacobs came highly recommended. We've worked with other outfitters, and Bosveld had such an amazing reputation. They worked with the Midwest chapter of the Wild Sheep Foundation and a bunch of others. Rion's over here for the show season. He hits them all, hits Dallas Safari Club, Wild Sheep Foundation, and he's been donating for years, and he's very generous. And so we've worked really closely with them, and they keep coming back. And he's kind of one of the only outfitters. There's a couple we work with, and they have good reputations too. But Rion is certainly top shelf. And you, you've been there, you can attest to it. And it's fun for me to talk to you. So Nolan's been there. Greg Rensmeg, our president's been there. Now you've been there, Chuck, and others too. And just really, really good reports, and just a fantastic experience, and very generous when it comes to the conservation end of things too. So Nolan's put together a bunch of us, and I think he's got he's up to 8 or 9 couples now and a lot of couples are bringing their kids. They're going as families too, right? So Nolan took his family over there, and all his kids were able to harvest some animals, and they just speak so highly of it. So pretty excited about it. And are you dragging Blake over with you next in 26, or what's the plan there?
He hasn't. I'd love to take all 3 of them, but that would mean that I'd have to pay for it all, Kyle, and I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
At this point, no. It's just the one thing I'll say is, my wife is not a hunter. She's a Saskatchewan girl and was raised around it all her life, and she's been putting up with my shit for 37 years. But she's not a hunter, but she absolutely loved it. She was with me. She loved the whole African experience. She was with me on every single day and every animal, and she fell in love with Africa. We went down to Cape Town after the hunt, spent a week there, and it was a no-brainer for us. So yeah, at this point, just the 2 of us. We'll see. Blake's got a wallet; he can use it if he wants to come.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, and that's the nice thing, is that we got enough runway here that we can just start putting away a little bit every month and then make it affordable, right? So we're almost 2 years before we're going over there, so we can sort of save up. And then, of course, Rion's donating so many. I think he donates 4 different hunts each year, 2 to our northern, 2 to the Penticton show. And so there's going to be lots of opportunity. But the problem is there's a bunch of us interested. So we're all going to be bidding against each other on these hunts.
And that's what we want. You want to bid it up. We want it to get, you want to get the numbers up. Well, I can tell you, I'll just, the last thing I want to say about that operation, they have a saying at Bosveld. You come over as a guest, you become a friend, and you leave as family. And it is absolutely true. They are a phenomenal group of people. The people that work there, Rian and his wife, their whole family. The operation is unbelievable. We literally had nothing to complain about. It was top notch. And as far as the affordability goes, you really got to look at South Africa if you're interested in international hunting, because it's a lot more affordable than one might think. Like, I shot 8 animals for the price of probably a combination hunt in Alberta for elk and whitetail, or elk and deer. So, it's actually very affordable. Unfortunately, the expensive part of South Africa is getting there, because the flights are expensive and it is a long travel. But save up your money. I mean, if you can shoot, think about it, right? Most people go on a guided hunt, shoot 1 animal. You can go over there and shoot as many as you want and keep it reasonable, because it's a tack on. Everything's a tack on. It's a price list. But yeah, they're great folks. And the other thing too is there's another way. There might be another way to win a hunt to South Africa with Bosveld. They are a brand partner now on Spike Camp on the international space. And I'll just say there could be a way to win a prize that could get you hunting in Africa for our year-end giveaway. So we got to come up with what the structure of that looks like. But yeah, should be good.
Very cool. Awesome, Chuck. Well, great to hear. I'm glad to hear. I know you guys did some stuff on the platform, and those nights you were talking about, I was busy. I quite often like to sit in on the actual live stuff. And of course, all the stuff is available after the fact on all the major platforms, on all the podcasts and stuff. So it's great there. But I always love to jump in on the live stuff when I can. But I was busy when you were talking about this, so it's great to hear about it, and it just gives us a lot of confidence too that we're working with an outfitter that we can trust, because we've had some bad experiences previously. So very cool. So let's talk a little bit about the platform then, and about, you guys do some really cool initiatives and giveaways. And let's talk about this membership promotion that you got ongoing now. And I can tell you that we just had a guy that signed up as a Monarch Silver, and he's like, I need my receipt because I got to get it to Chuck because I need to sign up for Spike Camp. So obviously it's working. It's definitely working, Chuck. And, when you pitch this to us, and I love the idea right from the start, but you're like sending guys to our way and they're signing up as members because they want to be part of the platform. And that says a lot. So we're super grateful for what you guys do. So let's talk about this membership promotion you got going on right now.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the first thing I want to start with is I want to throw out a very big thank you to our buddy Don Lynham, because without him, this contest wouldn't be possible. Don, we've had him on a live stream here a few months ago. And for those that don't know, Don Lynham is just a wonderful human being. For sure is the most generous human being I've ever met. He donates, I don't know how many rifles a year, at least 2 to 3 probably.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It's at least 2 for sure. Yeah. And yeah, or more, but you're right. 2 a year for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And multiple years, not just one time.
Yeah. It's multiple years. He donates rifles for Wild Sheep Society of BC to raffle off to generate funds. And he's a friend. He's a very close friend of mine. And he's, he has a close relationship with my father. So it's basically, a multi-generational relationship with Don, and he's just been amazing. And I was having coffee with him, oh my gosh, probably 6 months ago now. I know, it's kind of a funny story. So I sold him a rifle stock, a brand new Wildcat that I had for a Tikka or a Seiko. And so I was having coffee with him to give him this stock. And as we're visiting away, he says, I want to do something for Spike Camp. I want to build you a rifle. And I was like, Don, you don't have to do that. Like, at that time we didn't have the rewards program going or anything. We were just kind of figuring out, what we wanted to do. And he says, no, I've got a barrel sitting at home. He put it this way. Don keeps inventory of components for custom rifles. Like he'll buy 5 barrels at once. He'll buy 3 rifle stocks. He'll buy 4 actions. And his exact words were, I got a 7mm barrel sitting in inventory. What caliber would you guys like? I want to build you a gun. You got to do something nice with it. And I was overwhelmed. I said, I don't know, Don. I don't even know what to say. And that was on a Saturday. Monday morning, he phones me and he says, hey, I'm on my way to Kamloops to see Mitch. He says, did you decide what kind of a rifle you guys want? What caliber? I'm going to be a 280 Ackley, a 7 Rem Mag. How about a 7 PRC? And I was like, okay, Don, 7 PRC. Sure, thanks, buddy. I didn't know what to say. He turns around and says, well, I've got a Seiko A7. I'm going to take that Wildcat stock that you sold him, right? Make sure you hear that. I sold him this thing. Now he's going to build me a rifle with it. And I said, wait a second, Don, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to get Mitch to build you a 7 PRC with this Seiko. So I said, okay. And I was just shocked again, totally overwhelmed. I hung up the phone and I immediately went on to my bank platform and I wired Don back the money that he had gave me for this stock. I was like, there's no way. I can't sleep at night if he does this. So anyway, Mitch builds this beautiful rifle. It's a Wildcat carbon. I think it's carbon fiber. I'm pretty sure. It's their ultralight stock. I've had them. They're super light. It's got an IBI barrel on it and it's built on a Seiko Action. And Don put a Zeiss V4 on it. So it's just like the ultimate Western mountain rifle. It's a beautiful gun. So he donated that rifle to us. In his words, do something good with it. I want to help Spike Camp, help people, so do something good with it. Took a little while to figure out what we want to do. And during that time, we sort of developed this rewards program for engagement on the platform. And my thoughts were initially, I said to Blake, let's do something that benefits conservation. And in particular, I want to give back a little bit to the 3 main groups that were sort of the founding groups that supported Spike Camp from day one. And the first one, obviously, was Wild Sheep Society of BC. And if you recall, Kyle, you were the first phone call that I made when I had this idea, when Blake and I came up with the idea. And I think it took you all of about 30 seconds. You didn't even ask a question. You just said, yeah, no, we're in. This sounds great, Chuck. You've got our support. It started with you guys. The second phone call was to the Goat Alliance guys, and it was Marvin, Darren Epp, same thing. Those guys jumped right on it and said, yeah, we're in. And then you connected me with the Alberta boys. I called Paul Chambers, and he was in. So the idea behind this giveaway is we want to try and I guess, get people excited about donating to those 3 groups. So in order to qualify for entries, you need to go to any one of those 3 groups. If you're an existing member, upgrade your membership like you just mentioned that one of your members did this morning. Either, upgrade your membership, buy someone else a membership, basically spend some money on the membership categories there. The other way you can do it is a cash donation. There's donation tabs on all 3 of those groups' websites, and people can go in and click and give money. Again, you get a couple entries for every dollar spent. Once that money is spent, you take that receipt and you email it to Blake and I, and we'll tally it up and it goes in for entries. So basically our hope there is we're going to run this thing for July and August. So yeah, there will be a lot of entries. I'm sure there will be a lot. But at the end of the day, we want to try and drive members and we want to try and drive some money towards those groups. Now, once you've done that, you need to be a member of Spike Camp. So you go to the platform if you're not a member. And if you are a member, great. Get on the platform. And we have certain criteria built into this contest that basically through the rewards program, you can qualify for entries as well. We do have some caps on it because this isn't a hat or a t-shirt that we're giving away. We're giving away a $6,000 rifle. So we don't want people to spam their way to the top of the heap with this, and end up with 1 million entries. So we got some caps, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of different ways you can qualify. And there is no limit to the amount of entries. But again, the goal here is raise money for conservation. So yeah, that's the program.
That's awesome, Chuck. Okay, so somebody that's not a member of Spike Camp, where do they go? How do they get signed up? What do they need to do?
To join Spike Camp, it's very simple. Spikecamp.com. You basically go to our landing page, and there's a button there to have you join now. You go through setting up a profile. It's going to ask you a couple of questions. One of them is going to be, which conservation group are you a member of? And again, we recognize a lot of groups, but we want to try and focus on, the Wild Sheep Foundation chapter and affiliates, which have been the real core of our membership. Once you're there, if you're not a member, you're going to get an email back from me saying, hey, now's the chance to spend some money, join a group, and here's why. Here's an incentive on, possibly winning a rifle. So I had a guy this morning do exactly that. He wasn't a member of any group, and I told him we can't let you in until you are a member. An hour later, he sent me a receipt from the Goat Alliance. So it will work. I think it's going to need a lot of promotion. It's going to need a lot of reminders from people, because we're hitting hunting season here, starting, openers not that far away, less than 3 weeks. So the only ask we have from all our partner groups is that you promote the heck out of it, like you guys have done so far. So hopefully we can raise some serious money. That's the plan.
Oh, that's awesome, Chuck. Well, to you and Blake and everyone at Spike Camp, we're just incredibly grateful. And we were early adopters. We seen your vision. And, truth be told, a lot of it came from our, I guess, respect for you and what you've done. For those listening that probably aren't familiar, but you reached out over the Tom Leonard situation. We had Tammy Leonard on, whose husband went on a sheep hunt, never came home. And that was, 20 years ago, certainly more than 15 years ago, where Tom never returned from a sheep hunt in Spatsizi Plateau. And for years, we've been trying to figure out where he went and give that family some closure. Unfortunately, it still hasn't occurred. So, when you heard that podcast, you reached out right away, and you had a beautiful rifle that you donated to us. It was the fastest selling raffle we've ever had. We sold out all our tickets, $20,000 worth of tickets in 6 hours, which we were just absolutely, I couldn't believe it. I've never seen that before. But you spearheaded all of that. And Gary Flack had built that gun, I believe it was.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And you donated it to the society. And, and to me, when you get members that do this sort of thing, that's how conservation's supposed to work, right? Like if you got an organization like the society, or pick any other conservation organization, you're only so good, right? But when you have members that engage it, and I'm super biased, but I believe the society we're one of the most fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to call it, organizations out there because of our members, because of guys like you, Chuck, and what you've done and what you've done to support. And then Spike Camp's just another great example. And even Blake, Blake had built that field judging rams horn aging course, and did such a phenomenal job, and reached out and wanted to work with us and support us on it. And so it was a very easy sell for me when you reached out, and the concept was brilliant for sure, but it was, you had an idea, and I was like, we're going to support you no matter what, because you just do such great things for the society. So it was pretty easy for us. But, on behalf of the society, myself personally, we're super grateful, Chuck, for what you do, what Blake does. And Spike Camp is a brilliant idea. You had that meeting with Gray Thornton, Wild Sheep Foundation, and it took all of a few minutes for Gray to go, wow, this is awesome. And he reached out to me after. He's like, what's the catch? What's the catch?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. If there is one, I don't know what it is. But it's awesome, man. Super grateful for you. And yeah, just can't wait to hear about your fall. It's going to be a good one too. So thank you. And anything else you want to share with our listeners about Spike Camp, or anything else you want to put out there, Chuck?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, thanks to, you and your team and the other groups for supporting us. I will say this, a few weeks ago, and you were part of this as well, you hooked me up with Gray, as you mentioned, for a meeting. And out of that meeting came an invitation for Blake and I to attend the Chapter and Affiliates Summit in Calgary for all the Wild Sheep Foundation chapters and affiliates. And that was an overwhelming, amazing weekend. And it just reaffirmed to Blake and I both how important wildlife conservation is and how important these groups are. We spent 2 days traveling around on buses, visiting projects, sites where projects were needed, where there's going to be some controlled burns, wildlife overpasses. There was an auction, an internal fundraiser for a new chapter and also for Alberta. And this was just the groups themselves. I don't even remember how much. Do you recall how much money was generated? It was
Yeah, it's 180 grand or something, I think. US.
Yeah,
yeah.
Just to put that in perspective, that was not the public. That was just the executives and the leadership teams from all of those chapters and affiliates. And we were the only guests. We were the only ones there that were not, part of an association or a group. And it just spoke volumes to us about how hard the work is and how much work is done behind the scenes with all of these groups, and how that wild sheep family is just absolutely that. It's a massive family, and we're just proud to be part of it and proud to support it any way we can. So our work's not done. We're going to continue to find creative ways to help drive members, people, and money to wildlife conservation. So that's it.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you, Chuck. Thank you so much. And thanks for coming on the platform or coming on Talk of Sheep, and look forward to talking more. It's going to be fun. Lots of good things ahead I guarantee, for Spike Camp. And we're really super just chuffed to be part of that network.
Right on. Thanks, Kyle.